This video is brought to you by these two. Sub to them. Hello and welcome to the top 10 captains on Bleach Brave Souls. For this list, only characters with a captain affiliation will be on the list. So characters that either were captains or will become captains will not be on the list unless they have the affiliation. With that said, let's begin.
Bankai 加点胸骨から待つ真珠俺に手を大詰め締めの段糸切りばさみ血染めの喉笛
Starting things off, we have personally my favorite captain, Shunsui Kyoraki, 1000 Year Blood War Edition. Shunsui has a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and a pretty decent attack for an SP character. Not to mention that he has great range on all of his attacks, including his normal attack, which by the way has a plus 30 bruiser, and is a pretty good substitute for when you can't use your strong attacks or they're recharging. Speaking of which, Shunsui has a great set of strong attacks. His strong attack 1 is a lunge move, his strong attack 3 is a full screen strong attack, and his strong attack 2 is one of the best strong attacks in the entire game, as it has a 160% magnification and is able to deal a massive amount of damage at close range. And even if it's not close range, the actual attack itself has a pretty good reach, though the further the enemy is, it does end up dealing less damage. Still, with it being an attack that comes back after 16 seconds, and Shunsui having a strong attack damage link and frenzy, it has quickly become one of the most effective strong attacks in the entire game. Finally, we have this character's special. Not only does it inflict a lot of damage and was voted the most popular special among the community, it's also one of the most useful, as it has the possibility to instantly kill the enemy. It is a small chance, but instant killing is the most damage you can possibly inflict. I would know, I ran the math. And specials like these have become really popular in things like Senkaimon, when you only have around 10 seconds to kill a boss, and you can just reset your luck until it gets the job done. Honestly, the only bad thing about this character is the fact that he's still not available in premiums, and you have to wait for round 1 to come back to be able to get him.
Yeah, 私だよ。諸君、明けましておめでとう。
Next up, we have the New Year's version of Mayuri Kurozuchi, who is currently the best character in the entire game with a human killer. He's also currently the only character in the entire game with a human killer. And while this is good in one specific floor in Senkaimon, it's kind of pointless everywhere else. At least for now. Not sure, you may come up with a boss that's a human in PvE, or might be up against Chad in PvP. But even then, the killer is only at 20%, which is kind of a strange move by K-Lab unless they're planning on adding humans as fodder enemies, kind of like Arankar's Hollows and Soul Reapers. Here's hoping. Aside from the killer though, Mayuri's actually really good. He has a super high SP as well as frenzy and debilitating paralysis on all of his attacks except for his strong attack 2, which is a boost move, and he has enhancer. Not only that, he also has a strong attack recharge link, meaning that this boost move is actually an infinite boost move, assuming of course you build him correctly. This makes this character a great support character, and it means you can build him in a variety of different ways because of the boost. He's also got a 180% max strong attack 1, and while his strong attack 3 is in full screen, it still has really good range and deals a pretty good amount of damage. Honestly, had they given him anything other than a human killer, he might actually make it higher on this list. And maybe if the game decides to give us more fodder enemies that are humans, he might actually go up on the list, but as of right now, this is as far as he goes.
地獄から逃げられるのはただ一人この鈴虫本体を握る者だけだ
Next up is one of the best examples of a remake this game has to offer, Kaname Tozen, who has a really high SP as well as frenzy, and can inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks. He also has a strong attack recharge link, which is the best possible link for him, and a Soul Reaper killer, which is the best killer to have. Kaname's strong attacks are also really well made and increase his combo extremely fast, with his strong attack 1 hitting a ridiculous number of times, largely increasing the chance of inflicting debilitating weakening, and his strong attack 2 being a crawling vortex, that also help with increasing the combo and pushing enemies away, which is what you want for this character since he's a ranged character. Finally, we have his strong attack 3, that's honestly just generic in terms of damage and range. It may not be full screen, but with him having a plus 20 havoc, it certainly feels like it. Honestly, this Kaname is extremely fun to play, and thanks to his strong attacks has incredible crowd control, and is really useful in things like Guild Quest, or just any PvE. I for one really hope they continue to remake the original captains, because if it's anything like this, then we're gonna be getting some really good characters.
プレゼントを届けに来ましたよ。どうぞ受け取ってください。メリークリスマス。何がクリスマスや。
Next we have the Christmas version of Retsu Unohana, who much like the other characters on this list so far also has a really high SP as well as Frenzy. Retsu also has a chance to inflict debilitating burn on all of her attacks, something that's come in handy a lot lately with the addition of some harder Senkaimon floors where you really need someone that can inflict burn or poison. And with this character having a strong attack too that's a hybrid vortex move, it becomes just a little bit easier, since those moves typically hit a few times more, and they help with gathering all the enemies in one spot, setting things up perfectly for additional hits. Finally we have this character's special, that's kind of just like any other burn inflicting special, with the addition of weaken attack, which can certainly come in handy in a variety of situations. And honestly that's about it. She's just a burn inflicting strong attack damage character. It's something we've seen before, but Retsu does it really well, and with a lot more damage since her SP is a lot higher than most of the other characters. Now next up we have Genryusa Yamamoto, one-armed version, who, unlike the rest of the characters on the list so far, has a really high attack, as well as flurry, meaning that his normal attacks hit twice. This not only helps deal a massive amount of damage because of the high attack, but since he can inflict debilitating burn on all of his attacks, including his normal attack, it essentially doubles the opportunities to inflict the burn, since each attack hits twice. This makes this Yama one of the best characters to take in PvP right now, since he also has poise and doesn't stagger when hit, meaning that the only way to actually stop him in his tracks is either to freeze him, stun him, or kill him. Yama also has decent strong attacks, not in terms of damage since his SP kinda sucks, but in the fact that they have really good range, hit multiple times, and also have a chance to inflict the burn. Now this Yama has a Captain Killer, which is very effective in PvP. In PvE, not so much, since it really only comes into effect when you're fighting a boss, and even then, only if they're a captain. Still, he's not a bad option to take in PvE, as he's one of the best characters to auto with, though I would still say pick your battles. Finally we have this character's special, which is just a fire tornado. I mean there's no other way to describe it, it's just a fire tornado. It may not do much in terms of damage, but because it's one of only 2 vortex specials in the game, it can certainly come in handy in specific situations.
どうやら仕置きが足らんようじゃの。
Next up we have another Yama. This time it's Tag Team Yama, and I know that is the 3rd debilitating burn character in a row. And yes, I also know that Retsu's SP is higher than his, though he still has a really high SP. There are a few reasons why I did put him above her though. First of all, he's completely immune to being burned, something that comes in handy in a variety of different situations, whether it's co-op, regular events, or Senkaimon quests. Next we have Yama's Strong Attack 3. It may not be full screen, but it is a charge move that when fully charged has a 240% mag and can potentially hit harder than his special, assuming you build it correctly. Not to mention that a Strong Attack 2 is also a hybrid vortex move that can really help with crowd control. Finally we have the fact that this character has a double killer, something that's unbelievably valuable, especially now, since there's so many things that multiply killers. This basically means that he'd be really good in anything with enemies that are Soul Reapers or Hollows, and in some cases when you have both. Now unfortunately, aside from his special, he doesn't really have a full screen move, but he doesn't exactly need it when he has everything else working for him.
お前が逃れる術はねえ。
Next up we have another tag team character. This time it's Tag Team Toshiro, who has a really high SP as well as Frenzy and can inflict debilitating freeze on everything he has. He also has really great range on all of his strong attacks, though his Strong Attack 3 isn't exactly full screen. Honestly, it's kind of a hybrid vortex move in itself. It actually hits more than the average number of hits for a strong attack, which increases the probability of inflicting the freeze. However, if you auto with this character, this move is going to miss a lot, since the AI doesn't exactly know when to use it. Aside from that though, this character is incredible. He has both a Narankar killer and a Soul Reaper killer, which are the 2 best killers in the game, since more likely than not, you're gonna face a boss that's either a Soul Reaper or a Narankar. And much like Yama before him, this really opens up the doors when it comes to the amount of places you can take him in. Honestly, I'm really glad they remade this character, since the original one was a 4-star, and I certainly hope it's not the last we see of tag team characters.
4歩のうちに踏みしめた空間の治水火風の全てを凍結する視界氷結。
Up next we actually have Manga Toshiro, who is actually a nightmare to place on this list, since both Manga Toshiro and Tag Team Toshiro switch spots about 1,000 times. In the end though, I did decide that Manga Toshiro was just a little bit better. Sure, Tag Team Toshiro has the double killer, but Manga Toshiro is useful not just in PvE, but also in PvP. Granted, not like he once was, since PvP is mostly dominated by high attack characters now. That's not to say that this character isn't good in PvP though, since he still has some of the fastest activation speeds when it comes to his strong attacks. Not to mention that his SP is also ridiculously high. Yes, Tag Team Toshiro does have a slightly higher SP, just by 16 points, but 16 points is really not that much. The biggest difference is the fact that this character has amazing range. I mentioned earlier that his strong attacks are really fast to activate, but the fact that they have incredible range, and the fact that he has a strong attack recharge link, means that you can be spamming these attacks non-stop. And both his range and speed make him really good in PvE and PvP. Not to mention he also has a great special. It's not only full screen and inflicts freeze, but it also inflicts defense weakening, which helps out in both these areas. And while speed isn't the most important thing in the game, it certainly helps in Senkaimon when you're trying to beat a level in the required time, and it definitely helps in guild quests, which is why he just barely beat out his counterpart for the number 3 spot.
その攻撃は俺には通用しないよ。反撃といこうか。
Next up, we have the newest iteration of Jushiro, the lost agent Jushiro, who has an extremely high SP as well as Frenzy. Not only that, but he can also inflict debilitating paralysis on his normal attack, strong attack 2, and special, as well as inflicting debilitating freeze on his strong attack 1 and strong attack 3. And man, you thought Toshiro had range, this guy's insane! His strong attacks not only have excellent range, but he also has the best one in the entire game, with his strong attack 2 being a 160 mag, just like Shunsui's, and it can inflict debilitating paralysis. In fact, because all of his strong attacks inflict something that basically stops the enemies in its tracks, he has exactly what he needs to make the most out of his strong attack 2. Jushiro also has a boosted strong attack recharge link of 14%, letting him constantly bombard enemies with strong attack after strong attack. He is without a doubt one of the best captains, and one of the best characters overall to take in PvE. Now we've got quite a few really good captains. More than a few actually, we have a lot of really good captains. And here are a few who couldn't quite make it on this list, but who were very close.
派手にいっちゃおうじゃないの。さあ、今度はどう遊ぼうか。ここからは本気で行くぞ。波動の31、着火砲。
その力の名前はね、挽回だよ。
うわー！
大グレン少年マラ挽回弱砲雷光弁。この一撃で終わらせてやろう。
挽回水無月雑境はこれにておしまい。
Finally, at number 1, we have Yachiro Unohana, who, let's be real, a lot of you already knew was going to be at number 1, and for very good reason. She's got a really high attack, as well as flurry and poise, and she's still, after over a year, the queen of PvP. She's got a really good reach on her attack, as well as a really fast attack speed. Not only that, but her strong attack 2 is a heal move that heals not only her, but the entire team, and she's got a damage reduction soul trait, that when stacked can go all the way up to 76%. And if that weren't enough, and apparently it wasn't, they also gave her a special move that heals her and the entire team by 60%. But then Caleb thought to itself, how can we make this character even more broken? And that's when they decided to give this special the chance to insta-kill, which now not only comes in handy in PvP but also in PvE, specifically in things like Senkaimon. On the rare chance that this character can't get the job done in time, you essentially just have to get to the boss room, and then you're done, since you can just reset until the boss gets insta-killed. That's not all though, this character is also one of the best, if not the best character to auto with, since she doesn't get hurt that much, and on the rare chance that she does, she can heal herself. Plus, her normal attack does double damage. That said, her killer doesn't exactly come in handy in PvE, as it is a captain killer, but that's like the one thing you can fault her for. Without a doubt, Retsu remains the best captain in Bleach Brave Souls. So my sister and her husband recently started their own YouTube channels, and being the nice brother that I am, I decided to plug them for them, and also they asked me. Obviously you don't have to go to there, but the links are in the description if you want to. She kinda just posts random stuff where she just talks to the camera, and in her most recent video she talks about how the house that I'm recording this in right now is apparently haunted. On the other hand, he focuses more on music, and helping others who make music get their stuff out there. So if you're interested in that, go check him out. With that said, thank you guys for watching this, and stay tuned for more top 10 videos.